Good morning. 10 years ago, when I first joined the congregation, I think probably in the first month or so, Sue came to me with a CD, with an album, and she gave it to me. And she said, "Just I want you to have it, because in it you will find great music." I'm referring to a collection of settings written by Michael Isakson, one of his favorite Jewish composers. And she pointed to a specific setting that she was very fond of. This was a setting for the Psalm 16, Shiviti Adonai lenegdi tamid. It says, "I am ever mindful of Adonai's presence. God is at my right hand. I shall never be shaken. So my heart rejoices, my whole being exalts, and my body rests secure. For you will not abandon me to Sheol, or let your faithful one see the pit. You will teach me the path of life. In your presence is perfect joy. Delights are ever in your right hand." So this is Psalm 16, written by Michael Isakson. Again, one of Sue's favorite settings. That since then I always sing at these occasions. Shiviti Adonai lenegdi tamid ki mimini balemu לכן שמח ליבי ויקל כפותי אך בשרי ישקול לבטח כי לא תעזור נפשי לשאול לא תיתן חסדך לראות שחת תודיעני אורח חיים אורח חיים שובע שמחות את פניך להימור בימינך נצח שיביתי אדוני לנגדי תמיד כי מימיני באמור.
A reading by Rabbi Joshua Loth Liebman titled "Death is Not the Enemy." I often feel that death is not the enemy of life, but its friend, for it is the knowledge that our years are limited which makes them so precious. It is the truth that time is but lent to us which makes us at our best look upon our years as a trust handed into our temporary keeping. We are like children, privileged to spend a day in the great park, a park filled with many gardens and playgrounds and azure-tinted lakes with white boats sailing upon the tranquil waves. True, the day allotted to each of us is not the same in length, in light, in beauty. Some children of earth are privileged to spend a long and sunlit day in the Garden of Earth. For others, the day is shorter, cloudier, and dusk descends more quickly as in a winter's tale. But whether our life is a long summery day or a wintry afternoon, we know that inevitably there are storms and squalls which overcast even the bluest heaven, and there are sunlit rays which pierce the darkest autumn sky. The day that we are privileged to spend in the great park of life is not the same for all human beings. but there is enough beauty and joy and gaiety in the hours if we will but treasure them. Then for each of us, the moment comes when the great nurse, death, takes us by the hand and quietly says, "It is time to go home. Night is coming. It is your bedtime, child of earth. Come, you're tired. Lie down at last in the quiet nursery of nature and sleep. Sleep well. The day is gone. Stars shine in the canopy of eternity." From Psalm 121, Sinai el harim me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai, oseh shamayim va'aretz. I lift up my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. God will guard your soul, your going and coming, now and forever. I invite Cantor Norman back to lead us in the chanting of Psalm 23.
מזמור לדוד, אדוני רואי לו אחסר, בנות אשר ירביצני, על מי מנוחות ינהלני. נפשי שבר, ינחני במעגלי צדק, למען שמו. גם כי לך בגיא על מוות, לא יירא רע, כי אתה עמדי. שבטך משענתך המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי, תשענת בשם ראשי, כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ירדיפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים.
Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside still waters, and restores my soul. You lead me in right paths for the sake of your name. Even when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You have set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of Adonai forever. Sue, as I will share later, was a lifelong student, a learner. She was also a lifelong Zionist, one who believed and cared deeply about the land and the state of Israel, who visited it many times until recently, and then was so close to going back in the spring. I thought I would share a poem by the great Hebrew poet Chaim Nachman Bialik. There was a woman who exists no more. That woman died before her time, and her life song was broken off halfway. Oh, she had a poem, and that poem has been lost forever. She had a lyre and a vital, quivering soul. The poet in her spoke, gave all her heart's secrets. Her hand struck all its chords. But there was one secret she kept hidden, though her fingers dance everywhere. One string stayed mute and it still soundless. But alas, all its days that string trembled softly quivered for the poem that would free her, yearned and thirsted, grieved and wept, as though pining for someone expected who does not come. And the more he delays, she whimpers with a fine, soft sound, but he does not come. And the agony is very great, for there was a woman, and she exists no more. Her life's song was broken off halfway. She had a poem, and that poem was lost forever. We feel keenly the death of Sue, something not expected, not anticipated, certainly not wanted. But we acknowledge that she lived a life. She lived a long life, not long enough, and that your presence here, right, the sheer number of you who are here, is a recognition that she played a role in that life. And that life, even though it is cut off, remains with us. The gift of memory, through the gift of the lessons that she shared with us. So a poem by Rabbi Morris Adler. Those we have loved, though now beyond our views, have given form and quality to our being. And they live on, unfailingly feeding our hearts and minds and imaginations. They led us into the wide universe I continue to inhabit, and their presence is more vital to us than their absence. That which you give, O God, you take not away, and bounties once granted shed their radiance evermore. I want to invite Sue's two sons, Andrew and Edward, to share thoughts with us, memories with us, all those who Sue loved, who have given them form, who has given them form and quality in their being.
This Klau family began on July 4th, 1968, when my parents were married.
I'll just pull you a little closer.
Start over. This Klau family began July 4th, 1968, when my parents were married. For years, my mother's focus was raising 3 children. She always knew the right thing to say, taught us how to respond appropriately to situations. She would say, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. If somebody treats you badly, ignore them. Whenever we had a problem with anything, we went to Mom. She would help us find a good situation. If one of us had candy or ice cream, the others had to have some as well. She tried to make everything fair, even as she let us know that the world is unfair. Mom was very protective of, and in such a loving way. Like we went to Disney World, she made all of us wear the same outfits, same color outfits, so she can track us. We all agree that Sue Klau defined the term Jewish mother. She always made sure that we were prepared for rain, cold weather, delayed flights. We had money for the parking meter and for phone calls. We didn't have cell phones. We had to call home. Always had to have a quarter in our pocket. And every Shabbat, we lighted candles and had challah on the table. She was mommy to the three of us. She was Aunt Sue to not only her nieces and nephews, but to her friends' kids and grandkids. And she was Lau Lau to her 4 amazing grandchildren. She was an artist who excelled in drawing, painting, making crafts with my daughter Haley. She was so proud and excited that she just launched a website to showcase her art. Mom had so many dear friends with wonderful traditions. Birthdays were special. For years, pink plastic flamingos mysteriously showed up on lawns. We just don't know where they came from. She had a gift for friendship. When she hired a decorator for her home or hired a personal trainer, she became good friends with them. Mom, you carried me into this world. When I lifted you out of my living room chair, I carried you out. My parents were known as Mommy and Daddy, Aunt Sue and Uncle Irwin, Sue and Irwin, Dr. and Mrs. Klau, Lau Lau and Doc. We are so blessed that you were our parents.
I don't know what to say. If there's one phrase I've heard again and again since Tuesday night, that's it. I don't know what to say. I just don't know what to say. But the more people I heard from, I realized they actually did know what to say, because they all said the same things. They said, "Your mom always made time for me," or "Your mom was genuinely interested in my happiness," or most telling of all, "I wish I had a mom like yours." That last one made me realize how lucky I was. And I thank God I realized it not just in the past week, but a long time ago. My mother was the rare person equipped to attack the overwhelming anxiety of a big problem, as well as being insightful enough to recognize when a problem was actually small. She always knew what to do. She always knew what to do, even when she didn't. When I was in 7th grade, I had the world's worst teacher, and without telling me, my mother went and saw him. He wasn't kind, nor empathetic, or even receptive. So my mom told me, "Edward, you're not going to learn any math this year." Didn't know that'd be a laugh. She said, "Edward, you're not going to learn any math this year, but one day you're going to have a boss just like this teacher, and you're going to have to learn to deal with that." Now, I'd love to tell you that at 12, I was smart enough to learn that lesson that she taught me. But I wasn't all that bright. Just ask that teacher. My mother couldn't provide a solution, so she did an even more important thing. She taught me how to live with the problem. That was her. And I know I'm going to hear a lot of stories like that in the years to come. So now, because she was taken so suddenly and so early, I have no solution anyone can provide, and I still have to live with the problem. We all do. We all feel we'll never get over this, never be able to move on. But my mom strikes again because she even had one for that too. Whenever I would say, I'll never go there again, I'll never take that chance again, I'll never, whatever, she'd say, well, never's a long time. Never feels true today, and never will feel true for a long time. But I know I'll learn to live with it because I know one thing: my mother knew everything. I know I had the best mother in the world, and the whole world told me that back. They told me today, they've told me this past week, they've been telling me my whole life. I'll always love you, Mom, and I'll never stop.
One of the occupational hazards of being a rabbi is that you think about the eulogies that you will give for one congregant or another. This was not a eulogy that I imagined giving so soon. This is also personal since, in the sense that Sue and I shared more than just a congregant and lay leader relationship, so I beg your indulgence if this veers a little bit too much into the personal. When Sue completed her term as president of Temple Sinai, she began her annual meeting remarks with a reminder of the classic children's bedtime story, Goodnight Moon. Like the little bunny in the book who wants to name everything in the room to avoid going to bed, Sue commented that even in the inevitability of the end of her term, she wished that she could have accomplished more. Today, while there is no way that we could ever name all of Sue's accomplishments and attributes, my attempt to do so is only with the futile hope that I can buy a little more time before the reality of her death sinks in. Sue's and my relationship both began and ended with death. 20 years ago, Sue was one of the first people that I called to express condolences. At that time, for her parents who had just died. I remember that we talked for a long time, which I soon learned, as many of you know, was going to be a pattern that would repeat itself thousands of times. You've already heard from Andrew and Edward about what an incredible mother and wife, grandmother she was, so I'm going to focus on her wider community involvement. Sue and Erwin were a part of the Temple Sinai family for over 40 years. From almost the very first moment, Sue became an active part of this congregation. It is not only difficult to overstate the impact that she had on our congregation, but it is difficult to state it in the first place because it is so extensive. Among the long list of accolades that can be attributed to her, Sue was a founder of the Sinai Academy, member of the Day School Commission for 15 years and its chair in 1983 through 85, chair of the Sinai Academy Bar and Bat Mitzvah celebration in 1995, chair of the Cantorial Search Committee in 2003, co-chair of Temple Sinai's 50th anniversary celebration in 2006. These are just some of her Temple Sinai accomplishments. She became a founding member and a leader of Pardes, the Reform Movement's day school organization, whose ranks she ascended until she became its chair. As a lifelong and proud Reform Jew, she served on the board and the executive committee of the Union for Reform Judaism, the Union of American Hebrew Congregations at that time. Sue was one of the finest lay leaders that I ever had the privilege to work with. There's a special bond that develops between a rabbi and board president under the best circumstances. Some presidents are more hands-off, some are more hands-on, and then there was Sue. We met once a week with an agenda and then spoke almost daily in between. Sue's phone number was one of the first that I was able to memorize. She was the kind of leader who had a clear vision and thought strategically about how to arrive at her goals. She was able to take an idea and move it through to completion, whether it was a program or revising our Constitution or single-handedly managing the commissioning and dedication of our High Holy Day Torah mantles. She was whip-smart and had a steel trap memory. There were so many times when she said to me, "I think I remember correctly," which was just a more gentle way of saying to me, "This is what happened." As a leader, my friend Sue was occasionally disliked by those she challenged. More times than not, she was beloved by those whom she interacted. But I will tell you, as a leader, she was always respected. While many synagogue leaders seek to hold on to their leadership, Sue recognized the importance of raising up the next generation of leaders. For a number of years, she served as the chair of the Board and Leadership Development Committee. Sue was the architect of the process by which trustees come onto the board at Temple Sinai. In 2008, Sue saw a need to develop a vehicle to bring new leadership to Temple Sinai. Co-creating and co-teaching Temple Sinai's leadership, education, and preparation, our LEAP program, which has graduated over 100 leaders for our congregation and wider community, stands as one of my favorite collaborations with her. Sue had very clear ideas of what was right and how to do things. She once wrote to me, quote, "There are difficult decisions every day, sometimes several every day. I have pushed, nagged, encouraged, cajoled, manipulated, etc., to get us to take the high road as I see it, probably coming across as sanctimonious and old-fashioned more often than not. Raise the bar and they will come. Raise the bar and they will stay. Raise the bar and lead with your heart and your head and build the congregation that you want to see before you and around you." Yet even as she pushed me to be a better rabbi, she pushed me to be a better person, reminding me to eat and sleep and exercise. She encouraged me to take vacation and spend time with my family and supported me in my other interests. And looking out today, I know that she pushed many of you to be better people. Sue did that because she invested and was interested in other people. She picked up friends along the way. Did not matter their age or their background. Elizabeth described her mother as, you could drop her in any room in any country and she could have a conversation. She found a connection and a friendship grew from there. It did not matter whether you knew her for the past 4 months or for the past 40 plus years, she made an impact on your life. I know that you heard from Andrew and Edward, but I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the deepest care that she had in her life, which was her own family. She would do anything for them as a problem solver and an advocate, as their sounding board and sometimes as their siren signal. While Erwin worked crazy hours, it was Sue who got dinner on the table, the kids to their activities, and the social calendar coordinated. Her dedication, her love for Erwin, which many of us saw at its apex during the last few years of his life, but which really spanned their 51 years of marriage, was unparalleled. It was Sue who consummately and elegantly played the role of military spouse while they were in South Carolina and the physician's wife in Florida. Sue loved being Lau Lau to her grandchildren, EJ and Haley, Beckett and Sadie. And while she was waiting for her own grandchildren, Sue was very happy to be surrogate grandmother to my own children, each of whom adored her. Judaism played a defining role in her life. As Temple Sinai's Rabbi Emeritus, Rabbi Kingsley, wrote to Sue's 3 children yesterday, her life was an expression of her being deeply committed to Jewish education and to the perpetuation of Jewish life. And she gave expression to that commitment with all her being, even to this very day. The truth was, as I mentioned before, she was a lifelong learner. She worked on herself her entire life. She was in the front row, whether it was in class or on a tour. We have her transcript from Temple Sinai's Lair House in her initial years at the synagogue. She passed all of her classes. Sue became an adult bat mitzvah on Pesach 1982. She was a regular student at Shabbat Torah study and a Talmud study. And those are only the learning opportunities at Sinai. For the past 20 years, she and Erwin participated with a number of other couples in a small Torah study at each other's homes. She took summer classes in the Berkshires. Sue was a graduate of and an ongoing student with the Florence Melton School of Adult Learning. She was an active participant in a monthly book club. She was not just a lifelong student of Torah, but also a lifelong teacher, both inside and outside of the classroom. Sue was a teacher at Sinai Academy and then at Temple Kolami Emmanuel Day School. She was on the educational team for March of the Living for many years. The fulfillment of those mitzvot, lilmod ulilamed, to learn and to teach, found its greatest expression in the early 1980s. As Rabbi Kingsley wrote, Sue was instrumental in a great experiment that began in 1981, the creation of a liberal Jewish day school called the Sinai Academy, a unique institution from which 3 of her children benefited, along with more than 1,000 other boys and girls. There were perhaps only a half dozen such schools in the entire country at that time. It was Sue Klau, with a few others, who not only helped provide oversight and financial support with Erwin, Zichrono Livracha, but who, with her dear friend Jeannie Gordon, wrote those wonderful holiday plays which regaled many years of students as the school grew from a dozen or so students in a combined kindergarten and first grade until it went all the way up through middle school. Many of you know and benefited from the fact that Sue was an accomplished artist. Like all great artists, her artwork was an expression of herself. As you heard just a few months ago, she finally realized her desire to put her work onto a personal website, SueKlau.com. Just listen to her own words. The paintings that begin with my sketchbook or camera are not spontaneous or unplanned. I develop them through a detailed process of drawing, collaging, layering, and erasing as I add and subtract materials, shapes, and forms. Other works are more intuitive, starting with an abstract or a specific form, and letting color, shape, and serendipity lead me toward a satisfying image. I'm interested in ideas gathered from what I see and read, and often these thoughts start my creative process. Currently, my work is about more than making art. It is about making meaning in my life, finding space and peace. How perfect of a description, not just of her art, but of her. Layered and textured. She spent a lifetime taking what was right in front of her and helping shape it into something new. And yet, as clear and focused and disciplined as she was also able to accept and find meaning in the reality of the situations that she could not fix or solve or change. 4 years ago, Temple Sinai honored 8 congregant families at our decades of dedication. Each one was honored for a different virtue. Sue and Erwin's, no surprise, was generosity. As I shared that night, it is not the size of their gifts, although I assure you that their gifts have been substantial, that have been so meaningful. It has been the sheer number of them. What inspired me so much was that now, over 40 years of involvement, there has not been a time when Sue and Erwin did not give, large or small. If there was something that was needed to be fixed, a program needed to be sponsored, supplies needed to be bought, a staff member needed professional development, or a congregant was simply in need, Sue and Erwin, and many times Sue without telling Erwin, quietly provided the funding. Sue understood what it meant to be a leader in publicly declaring her support. And then there were also many times when she just quietly gave because it was about the need and not about her. There are lots of people who simply write a check to support Temple Sinai, and we appreciate that. But Sue's involvement was so deep, and her support became so much more comprehensive. It was the stack of ice cream gift cards for Afikoman prizes, coffee pods for the front office, my annual box of Crayola markers, of which I do not think I will be able to retire without using them all. I will never use them all. Okay. Bottles of scotch for my office. I will not tell you where they are. Glow sticks for Yom Kippur Ne'ilah, a small refrigerator, a television. If there was a hole, Sue filled it. Sue and I shared a number of inside jokes and phrases. I think 2 seem appropriate at this moment. The first was, if I had a little more time, it would have been shorter. So any sense that my speaking was too long should be squarely placed on Sue. The second was when services were approaching, a deadline loomed, or a meeting was running way too late into the night, she would remind me that a train has to stop sometime. So let me conclude by saying I have a small sign that's tacked above my desk. It reminds me that many people say you should. Even more people say you should have. Far fewer people say I will. So I thank you, my friend Sue, for always saying yes to me, to my family, to your friends, to your Temple Sinai community, and to the Jewish people. Zichrona livracha, her memory will be a blessing for all of us. Little game coordination here. Cantor Norman will continue with the singing of Psalm 129, Sinai.
Adonai madam vatzedaeu ben enosh ותחשבהו אדם להבל נעמה ימיו כצל עובר בבוקר יציץ וחלב לערב ימול אל ביבש תשב אנוש עד תקע ותאמר שובו בני אדם לו חכמו ישכילו זאת יבינו לאחריתן כי לא במותו ייקח הכל לא ירד אחריו כבודו שמור תמורי ישר כי אחריד לי שלום פודה אדוני נפש עבדיו ולא ישמו כל החוסים בו.
Adonai, what are we that you have regard for us? What are we that you are mindful of us? We are like a breath. Our days are like a passing shadow. We come and go like grass, which in the morning shoots up renewed, and in the evening fades and withers. You cause us to turn to dust, saying, "Return, O mortal creatures." Would that we were wise, that we understood where we are going. When we die, we carry nothing away. Our glory does not accompany us. Mark the wholehearted and behold the upright. They shall have peace. I invite you to rise for El Malay Rachamim. You want to do it here?
El Malay Rachamim Shochen V'Meromim Hametzeh Menuchanechona Tachat Kanfei Hashina Ve'malot Kedoshim Utarim Kezohar Arakia Mazirim Et Nishemat Shulamit Yehudit Bat David Yosef Vechana She'alcha Le'olama Malay Rachamim Yastilea Beseter Kenafav Le'olamim Vitzrar Bitzrar Chaim Et Nishmata Adonai Hu Nachalata V'tanuach v'shalom Al Mishkava V'nomar Amen.
O God, full of compassion, you who dwell on high, grant perfect rest to the soul of Sue Shapiro Klau, who has departed from this world. Source of mercy, bring her into your presence and let her soul be bound up in the bond of eternity. Be you her possession, and may her repose be peace, as again we say. Amen. You may be seated for just a moment. In a few moments, we will be heading to the cemetery. Just a reminder for those of you who are not going to be joining us there that Shiva will begin tonight here at Temple Sinai from 7 until 9 p.m. We'll start with Minyan at 7 p.m. And then on Tuesday and Wednesday, the family will be receiving your condolences at the home, at Sue and Erwin's home, from 1 to 4, and then again from 7 to 9 with Minyan each night at 7 p.m. We hope, I know that many of you have already done so, but as Sue generously supported this congregation, if you would like to give tzedakah in her memory, it can be sent here to Temple Sinai.
Rabbi, thank you so much for those beautiful words of support. Cantor, thank you for those beautiful psalms. Folks, this does conclude the temple portion of our services. As Rabbi says, we're going to be going to the cemetery for the actual burial. The cemetery we're going to go to is Beth David Cemetery, which is in Hollywood. You're all welcome to come along with us. If you do want to come, try to pick up one of these placards my associate is showing out there and place them on your rearview mirror facing forward like this so that the escorts can see you. Probably the most important thing, though, folks, is you put your flashers on. That's how they can really visually see that you want to be with us. So at this time, we have a beautiful tradition. I think it's beautiful, where we surround Mom's casket with our love, and we escort her out of the temple. The concept here is that she's never left alone. She's always with people that she loves, and I think that's very important. So at this time, I would like to have the immediate family, if you wish, come forward and stand up. Siblings. Okay. Siblings and nieces, nephews, grandchildren, please come forward. We'll stand 3 on either side. Place our hands on the casket. And then Murray will help to lead you out. Folks, please follow along behind.